You, everyone. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Hi, our president he's here today, so I'm the vice president. We're going to go over a few things. I see a few new faces out there, a lot of old faces.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're your face. Well, there's some old ones out there too. I know. Okay. I'll just leave it up to your imagination of who, if the shoe fits. But anyway, we're going to go over a little bit how to put a nuke in and some stuff. But first, we're going to go through the officers and have a report. Me as the vice president, the only thing I have to say is we have the Delta Beekeepers meeting coming up, and it's not this coming Monday. It's the next Monday. It's one of those funny calendar ones. Usually, it's the Monday after this meeting. But the Delta meeting is the third Monday of the month, which is not this coming one. It's the one after that. So that's the only thing I have. Let's go to treasurer and secretary.
Okay, so right now, so we had a couple expenses that came through for March. One was our cost for the Zoom. The other one was for our domain, which is just our website that we had. And then the other one was paying for our taxes. We paid for the taxes through it. I transferred our PayPal balance to our Alpine Bank account. So our PayPal is $0, but our Alpine Bank is $5,130.98. So that's where we're at now. Yeah.
Everybody just paid their dues, so that's what
Yep.
it tells.
Yes.
For those of you new folks, if you want to sign up, you can talk with the lady in the yellow shirt. She's the secretary. We like to come once or maybe twice if you just want to see what's here, but then after that, we would appreciate you joining.
So on the minutes that I send out, don't forget at the bottom, there's the swarm line you could sign up for, and it's happening. There's the shared contact, the shared member contact directory. If you want to be able to get in touch with or see who else is on the directory, so you can sign up for that. And if you need to correspond with them, there's a local bees for sale vendors list on the website, and I have a link to that. Hive products, there's a link to that. And then of course, looking for an apiary location, there's a link there if you're looking for one. And then don't forget, we have an oxalic acid vaporizer if you need to use it and you're finding you're loaded with mites, you might want to check that out and borrow it from the club.
And it's free to use it.
And it is free. for
It is for
members.
you. We also have not really, this time of year is not really prevalent, but we do have an extractor that we have. Same thing. As a club member, you can check it out. Just return it as clean as you found it. And last, our media officer.
To expand a little bit on the links that she was talking about, so like looking for apiary, I get calls and emails all the time from people in the valley going, hey, I think my property is great for bees. You want to put some out here? So if it's something that you think you might be interested in, want to evaluate it, put your name on there so I can pass it out to you. I try to screen them the best I can. I had somebody they said, yeah, our postage stamp size lot. And I looked it up. And I would be surprised if her entire lot was bigger than this room. And the entire neighborhood is like that. It's like, I don't think this is gonna be a good spot. I try to feed them out the best I can, but at least if you think you might need to expand your apiary, and this is a good way for you to get let me be able to reach out to you and pass that information on so you can evaluate it. And then swarms, just like she said, it has begun. If you're in the membership, you saw Monday, we got our first one. We had 2 more today. So I thought it was early, but I went back and looked over the last couple years. Nope, we're right on schedule. First week of April, they start hitting.
Here's like where.
Yeah, so. On that, yeah, so the one I posted was actually in the parking lot of Family Dollar on 30 Neck Road. That's what, yeah, that's what that was. That's why at the end of the year too, starting last year, I went ahead and I put the map up so you guys can kind of see where they're coming from. But
So if you get missed on that call list, like say you're number 10, you get missed, not missed, say you didn't answer the phone, so now you get missed. How does that work when there's, I'm saying let's say there's 20 people on that list, you're number 10, you go down to 21? Or how does that work for?
so basically the list, I just go from top to bottom on the list unless there's a reason for me that I need to skip you, like we get a call and it's in Montrose. And you say you're just stuck in the Grand Valley. I'll probably give that one to Tracy because he's closer. Or we do have a few members in Montrose, I'll give it to them. Or it happens to be something that you have specifically said that you can't do. That's why I put that in there. What can you do? So if you say, well, I don't like climbing ladders and I don't want to do anything with 8 feet, and I get a call and somebody says it's 20 feet up in the air, I'm gonna skip you and go to the next person, but then you will be still the next person on the list.
Okay,
If I called you and you missed, but he said, I end up going all the way through the list and then I just start over again.
okay.
So,
I was just curious how that works. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, so basically in theory, so say you were, we got 20 people on the list, you were number 10. So the first time, if I go through the list, you're the 10th phone call. The next step, you will be then the 30th phone call. It will be the,
gotcha.
40th phone call or 50th phone call, and every year I go through that list on average at least twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times. So if you did miss it, don't feel bad. It'll go back through again and again and again. I mean, like today, I got 2 swarm calls. I had to call 7 different people before.
7 different people?
Yep, I had a lot of God answers. Yeah, so, and just so you know that
You can call me.
time for swarms is between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That's when most of the calls happen. So, be ready for that phone call. Because I mean, I'm at work too, and luckily I do, my job allows me to take and step away for a few minutes, but I can't sit and make 10 different phone calls twice a day trying to get somebody. So, be nice to me and answer that phone and be ready to rock and roll, or just, a lot of times it's pretty quick. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And it's like, mark it down. It's coming.
We appreciate you managing that.
Definitely.
Give me a super honest question, I'm sorry.
No, it's what you're for.
What happens to this form when, like, you go out and get this form, what then happens? Do you just take your?
Yeah, you take their beat. See, that is one of the biggest benefits about being part of the club. Think about it. It costs you $25 to be a member. I send you get on the swarm list. I send you out, you collect 1 swarm of bees. You just made $250. You've paid for your membership for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you get a swarm call, make sure you sign up for membership for at least the next 10 years. But basically that's what it is. They're in Colorado, bees are considered feral livestock. When they're in your hive, they are your responsibility. And they belong to you. So, but as soon as they leave, they are wild. That and they protect. It's good. It's a curse and a blessing, because on the one side, when they're out, they sting somebody, and your neighbor knows you're a beekeeper. He can't come after you. Your bee stung me. I'm going to sue you because they're feral. But on the flip side, he can do whatever he wants to that bee on his property. So he can spray it, he can do whatever. So that's the downside. But while they're in your hive, if he comes over and sprays your thing, then it's trespassing and you've got damages. It's just like they came and damaged, damaged your property.
It's no different than going closer to town.
Same
It's
thing.
livestock.
So, but that's the biggest thing. So, yeah. So, and then, so any more questions on this form? Anybody need to know what you need, what you need to have? Everybody's prepared, ready to go. So, yeah, if you're not on the list, sign up on the link in the newsletter. If you're having problems with that, come see me at the end of the meeting. I'll help you get signed up so you're on there. But they are starting to rock and roll right now.
And on one of the previous newsletters, it said some of the equipment
Yeah, well, I
that
think we went over that.
you might need, that we kind of went over of what you could bring with you, like especially.
What happened to you guys?
Yeah, make sure you bring a box. You want to bring a full hive, the bare minimum. Yeah, 1 box, 2 boxes. Yeah, bring a tarp so you can put your box on top of the tarp in case the bees fall out. you know, if you knock them out of the tree, they fall down and they're not getting in the grass and you can find them easier. But it's amazing once you, if you've never caught a swarm before, once you get that weed in the box. And all of a sudden all of a sudden they notice she's in there. I've literally seen them, you know, go in the box. So a bunch of them go back up there and you sit there and you just kind of mostly cover your box, leave a little bit of it, just sit there and all of a sudden they go, wait, mom's not here. She's down there. You know, and then they all just go in. You'll see them come out the entrance and they'll sit there with their butts up in the air and fan, spreading that pheromone around, and you can just watch them all, everyone that's there just start walking right in. So a good recommendation is, if you can, once you've caught that swarm, stick around for a little bit. See what scouts come back. We've had it twice now where the beekeeper's gone out, collected them, and 30, 45 minutes later, I got a phone call. There's almost as many bees in this trees there was a little while ago. We don't know what's going on. So, and, you know, it's very rare to see a second swarm in a tree, but it's not unheard of. You know, Jason's got some videos of one last year where he had a swarm and then went back and there was a second swarm in that same tree within an hour. So it's not unheard of, but it's not. Yeah.
Same, they bring the same time. And I got my bees out of the tree, I thought, and I had bees that kept going back up. It's a smaller cluster, but we kept going back up. And finally, I cut that branch off and shook it into another box. I had 2 queens. One was a bird.
That's my star.
Not unheard of. And sure.
On the links, you talked about someone that said they wanted to move it early, like, is that something that people would pick up for you?
Yeah, you sign up for that. Jason's got it. So you sign up for that and we'll reach out. Yeah. You know, pick it up from Jason. So he's keeping it over at the storage set at the church. He keeps telling me he's gonna give me a key to that one of these. So that way I can maybe I can go, you know, go help it out so he doesn't have to come down off the hill or like when he's gone. So and the other thing that I want to talk about was, you know, we mentioned a couple months ago doing finds of the month. We kind of fell through the last month, but I did find, I don't know, did anybody find anything of interest out there? Websites, books, or anything new that you found? Want to share with the club? Yeah, I do have one. It's called the BMD. It's actually like WebMD, but for bees. It's through the Bee Partnership and a couple of the universities. And they are actually doing it even as citizen scientists, so they will specifically add, there's things on, basically you get on there and you can do just like WebMD. You go on there and say, I'm looking at drones, I want to know this, I see this, I did this, and it will help give you a basic diagnostic of what's going on. And there's pictures and there's all kinds of stuff. It's still in development, so there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but from what I've seen, it's still pretty good. So the website address for that is idtools.org/the BMD. It's a TAGBEEMD. idtools.org/the BMD. And if you just search the BMD, it'll pop up there. There's a couple of different websites, but you want to get this one. It's been featured in like the American Bee Journal and a couple of the beekeeping magazines. I heard about it from Jamie Ellis from the University of Florida. He was interviewing the guy that was putting it together, so it sounds pretty interesting. So that's my contribution to that. But yeah, if you guys, you know, can find anything that you want to share with the club every month, we'll put them up. And
I've got some I was looking at because of the bee collapse that's going around the United States. They're finding out that Bayer Monsanto, when their chemical, basically 2,0,4-D. If you apply it, and it's used a lot on vegetation weeds, and you apply it perfectly, even though you did that, if it gets over 75 degrees, it will off gas. And that gas cloud will travel for miles with the wind. And they're finding it because there's a guy in Arkansas who just lost like 300,000 hives. And he's had to move what's left to Mississippi because of the issues with the off gassing from the 2,0,4-D.
the 2,0,4-D or 2,4-D?
2,0,4-D.
240. Okay, that's that basic.
Yeah,
Broadleaf, yeah, broadleaf
Yeah,
weed killer.
but it's used quite often around here.
Oh, yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah.
But you just gotta make sure you mix it right. Well,
Well,
that's why they say the label is the law. Mix it according to the label.
Well, what they're finding is even if you mix it perfectly and apply it perfectly, and it dries, once it reaches 75 degrees in hot weather, it will off gas. And it'll become airborne.
This is what the half-life is.
They didn't say that. It was something that was on Randy Oliver. But yeah,
So it's 240 like Roundup?
So Roundup kills everything.
yeah,
2,4-D is a broadleaf, you know, like if you go buy weed and feed. They kill like the dandelions and that kind of stuff. The active ingredient that kills that is the 2,4-D, because that's a broadleaf weed killer. Yeah, and you can buy that
We don't
here,
use it.
yeah.
It's the same thing that's in Weed Gone. Or buying Murdoch's, it's 2,4-D.
We don't.
If you download an app called Bee Safety, you go in there and then just type in the ingredient that whatever you're taking, you're gonna use, and it will tell you safe, if it's moderate or extreme, dangerous to bees. It's a great app. And so whatever chemicals you are using around your house for whatever reasons, that check on that app and that will help you out.
Bee safety.
Bee Safety.
You know, is that a .com or .org?
It's an app.
Oh, an app, okay.
Okay.
Safety app.
Other than that, remember we've got remember we got the Q and A coming up in 2 weeks, so don't let Tracy and I be talking to ourselves. We got
I was
these,
there for a little bit.
we have these turned the last couple times, but there's been a few of them that, it's just been Tracy and I talking to ourselves, and so.
What day was that again?
2 weeks from today, so the fourth Wednesday of the month. So that would be, and now you're making me look like at my calendar. 6:30. And it's, everything's posted on the calendar.
Laying it down in the
Yeah, everything
refrigerator.
board. spot, And an inner cover. You don't necessarily have to have an outer cover, but I like to take it. It's nice and then, of course, all your personal protective equipment. Swarming bees are pretty gentle, but you can get yourself in trouble with it. So wear your safety gear. Ladders if you need them, bee vacs if you have them. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a bee vacuum and then maybe bring it and show it because they're pretty easy to make out of 2 5-gallon buckets in a shop vac. And they're very, very minimal cost, for 2 5-gallon buckets. So anyway, I'll show that. And the first day that you guys had your swarm, Delta Swarm Light had its first. I called 7 people and nobody wanted it, so I went and got it. And now we have the Palisade Bee Festival is going to be this coming weekend, and we need a couple more volunteers for the booth. We have 3, but we'd like a couple more if that's possible. And if you want to volunteer for that, just come give your name to her and I'll call you and we'll figure it out. And then this lady back here has all kinds of information about the Bee Festival. She's the Bee Festival lady. She knows it all about the Bee Festival.
Well,
Take it over.
Okay, so things are gonna be different this year. There's going to be a shuttle. So people can come in and they have to be there between 8 and 10. The city wants it done, everybody's set up by 10 o'clock. Okay? Then what we're gonna have is people are gonna be parking at the Palisade High School, and there's shuttles that run every 15-20 minutes constantly, because that was one of the things that Palisade was upset about, is that, you know, we took up all the parking spots, we did all this and that. So that's one thing. At the Palisade High School, there's going to be people that can direct you to where they want you to park. So we just want to help out with that. They got some of the kids from the high school that is going to be out there doing that, and there will be time training off there. Like I said, there's going to be people that are helping with that. And I think that's about. The reason we're doing it is because we want to avoid the parking problem with the city there. So that's kind of where we're at. So we just really want to honor that, like the shuttle will work. It's going to be moving very quickly. There's lots of them. So we should in pretty good shape for that.
For those of you who don't know what the Palisade Bee Festival is, it's both an educational and then it's really kind of the first event that happens in the valley. And we have luckily had really nice weather most years. So the festival itself will have 80 different vendors. It'll have a lot of food trucks. It goes from 10 to 4. The setup time that Molly mentioned is the 8 to 10 period for us to set up our booth. And then also anybody else that's have their own, like Jason has his own booth right next to ours. Then the primary piece for us there is an educational piece. So we usually have an observational hive as long as the weather's allowing for us to be able to do that. We might have a second one this year, maybe.
We had 2 of them last year. Jason has one and I have one, so,
That's right.
yeah.
We can get them both out there. And so those are really great. It's great attraction, bringing in the kiddos and stuff. And then we always have literature. And then if you're a member of the club, you can sell your honey there tax-free as part of the club. And that's why she needs your information to know whether you're just gonna come and help work the booth or if you're there to also sell your product and stuff. And so it's just an annual benefit that you have of being part of this club is to participate in this festival.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun day.
Now you can sell your honey while you're actually working the booth, right?
Right.
Right, okay. You can't just drop your honey off and,
Yeah.
and when you leave, take your honey with you. Because whoever's collecting you, selling their honey.
Yeah, you have to have your own way to manage your funds. Yes, thank you for that clarification.
Well, less what I was thinking is that if like if you work the morning shift, when you leave, you have to take your honey with you because whoever's replacing you, they're putting their own honey out. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's see, went to all of the officers. I guess one of the first things I want to go over is maybe what you should be doing this time of year. How many in here do not have bees yet? Oh, we got quite a few.
I'm back here.
Okay, well, mine just got back so this week, so anyway, let me go over what you're gonna do right today. If you already have your bees here, what you should be doing, what you should be looking at this time of year. Then I'll go over installing bees and that kind of stuff. The first thing is that you should be feeding them right now, unless wherever you are, which depending on your weather where you are, if they're already have nectar available, and they're leaving your sugar water alone, then you can take your feeders off. But you need to have feeders on and 1-to-1, 1 part sugar, 1 part water. That needs to be on your hive until they stop taking it or you put supers on. Never ever have feeders on and supers on at the same time, okay? That's one of the very few golden rules of beekeeping. There's a lot of things that we fudge because they're bees and they do what they want to do and nature had to throw you some curves. But that's one of the few absolutes. Don't ever have feeders on while you have honey supers on.
It's the consequence.
You end up with sugar water in your honey supers, and then you try to spin it out as honey, and you're selling people sugar water, and or your honey tastes weird. It just tastes like sugar. It doesn't have any taste to it.
It's actually against,
Oh, it is?
it's against a lot of cell, it's
Adulterated.
What, it's adulterated or,
Yeah.
well, I mean, to me, I would think it'd just be fraud because you're selling honey and it's sugar water, but yeah,
You can just get that from the top shelf supermarket.
exactly. That's half corn syrup anyway. Half corn syrup anyway. So as far as, if you've been in your hives, who has been in their hives so far this year? They're already growing, they're looking good. Okay, you should be putting supers on and giving them a little bit of room. Whether you're adding any box or not, in general, when the bees are covering 7 to 8 of these frames, you put another box on, okay? You only have 1 box and you install the nuke. When they're covering 7 to 8 frames, then you put your second box on. The same rule applies for supers. If both of these bottom boxes have 7 to 8 frames covered with bees, it's time to put a super on. Now, this time of year, and right now, I'm going to add a little bit of a caveat to that, is that if you think you might need to put a super on, put a super on. You can, if you're going to air this time of year, give them a little too much room. Because if you don't, they'll swarm. Swarm prevention.
Then I get the phone call.
And then he gets, and it's not the only thing that'll trigger a swarm. They swarm for a whole bunch of reasons, but one of them is wherever you have your 2 brood boxes right here and your brood ball is right here. When the foragers come in, they go into the hive and they go above where the brood is. Okay, When that area gets congested, that's one of the big things that will trigger a swarm. So that's why if you give them plenty of room up there, it's not as crowded and you're less likely to swarm. As long as our nights are really cold, you might not do this, but where I came from is a little bit warmer weather. And they said, if this time of year, if you're gonna put a super on, put 2 on. Just to give them enough room, because it'll just stop them from swarming. If they have enough room, it's a really good swarm deterrent. We really have some cold nights, so I kind of temper that a little bit. But if they're big enough and you have 2 full boxes of bees, 7 to 8 frames and 2 full deep boxes, they can keep warm at night. Bees can keep warm. And especially if they have enough to eat, they can stay cold. I read an article one time where overnight it got down to minus 44 degrees and the bees lived just fine. They live just fine. So, I mean, it's not something I'd want to try out, but still, as far as putting supers on, don't think, well, I don't want to, give them more room than you think they might need it. In the fall, it's a little different story, but for right now, give them more room than you think that they're going to need. That'll help with the swarming considerably. Right now, you should have 6, 8 frames of brood, something like that. You can have a lot more, but if you have more than that, you need to be splitting because they're going to swarm on you anyway. They're going to swarm on you anyway. When they stop taking your food or put the super on, from that time on, like right now, this time of year, I'm inspecting pretty much every week to 10 days. I'm in them to make sure that they're okay. But once you put those supers on and they're starting, the honey flow starts, I kind of take a hands-off approach and I try not to get in them. Every time you get in this hive and take everything out and you mix up all the smells and you put it back together, it takes the bees 2 to 3 days to get back in order and producing honey again. So if you're getting in every week, you're almost cutting your production in half, okay? So this time of year, once I know they're bringing in honey, in general, as long as it's healthy, I'll take the top off, I'll look in, I may pull the super off and look. And if they're doing good, they're going to gangbusters, I just put it back together. I don't even get down in the brood box maybe once a month. And even then, get down in there, I see eggs or I see the queen, I'm good. I try to leave my bees alone a lot during the honey flow. You just get more honey, especially after the very first of the honey flow. You don't have to worry about swarming so much. You got a lot of room up here with supers, so you're good there. So that's a little tip about this time of year is right now, get in them and make sure they're right. If something's not right, you've got some time to fix it. But once they start bringing in nectar, kind of take a hands-off approach and let them be. What else this time of year? What else this time of year? Doug? I'm trying to think, huh? Check the mite load. There you go, good one. Check the mite load. When I get in there, I will check mites. You should check. For y'all that don't have a lot of hives, just check 1 or 2, you just check those. I've got 25 at the moment, so I'll check 1 on every pallet, 1 out of every 4. That they said that you should do about 20% of your colonies. Check your mite load. If your mite load's over, they're saying 3% now or 2%. If it's over 6 mites, then you need to treat. And that's where we have the gun you can treat them with. You can also make up the extended release of oxalic towels to put on. And I'm sure there'll be another class on that. And sometime to keep your mite load down. Swarming.
Could you remind me of the temperature for the gun? That it needs to be, it can't be hotter than, like when the always gonna be hotter than.
230.
No, it can't be hotter outside than.
Oh, you're thinking formic acid, not oxalic
That's
acid.
different. Oxalic acid, there is no temperature requirements up or down. You can do it anytime. It's not gonna hurt.
Doesn't matter my super.
That's right, and it doesn't matter if the supers are on. For formic acid, and anything else like for oxalic, for formic, make sure you read the directions. Like he was saying with the other, the directions are the law. It's very important that you read the directions, whatever you're putting on. Apigar, Apistan, formic acid, formic probe, whatever. Follow what it says on the.
If you're making the strips, it's supposed to be
Right.
Yeah.
What happens is oxalic acid starts turning into formic acid and with some other toxic byproducts. When I do it, I like to heat my vegetable glycerin up to about 130 and then start adding the oxalic acid. And then wait for it to clear up. It's easier to get it all mixed. Vegetable glycerin is kind of clunk and thick, and you get it a little warm and it mixes a lot better when you're adding the oxalic acid. So anyway,
What was the temperature you said?
I start adding my oxalic at 130. Do not take it over 170. I personally don't like even getting it up to about 160. If my temperature thing hits 160, I'm turning it down
Gas.
just to make sure.
Making it.
It would- That stuff's terrible.
Oh,
I've been
it's
gassed in a
like-
bee yard. No, I've never been gassed in my house, but I've been gassed in my bee yard. It's bad stuff.
I'm gonna make some.
Yeah, I will have oxalic acid towels at the Delta meeting, and I will have them at my road show that's coming up on the 19th. It's on the calendar this month. That the registration for that is closed. I've talked to a few people today that are bringing more than one person, so go ahead and put those people on the list and follow the link. But I've got plenty of people. I could use one or two experienced beekeepers to help me out because I've got over 20 people now. And I only have one volunteer from the Delta company to try to help that many people. So if I could have a couple of experienced beekeepers so we can have smaller groups, we can learn more. Huh? The 19th, yeah. Saturday, the 19th, 10 o'clock.
I'll give it again.
Okay, awesome. That would be really awesome, especially if both of you could come. That would make my day.
Thanks, like a fun.
If you will, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it.
I volunteered.
Oh, it's good. It's voluntold, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Let me get into installing a nuke. Because some of you guys are getting nukes, and that would be important. Your nuke is gonna come with 5 frames like that. You're gonna have these 3 are probably gonna be brood with a queen, and these 2 are gonna be resource frames. They're gonna have honey, pollen, some open spots for the queen to lay. Now, everything I'm gonna tell you, I want you to keep in mind that this nuke is gonna come out of this box like this, and when you get done, it's gonna be just like that in this box, okay? You're not gonna move frames around and mix this one here and this one here and move this one over here. 5 frames, the way they come in the nuke box, they're gonna go straight in the middle like this, okay? You'll have 2 frames from one side and 3 frames on the other side. So first thing you're gonna do is get your box set up. We don't have a bottom board here today. You just have to imagine that, but you're gonna get this, and if you have some drawn cone, that would be great. If you don't, this is all you have, and that's all you have. 3 on one side, 2 on the other. Open your box, give them a little bit of smoke, a little bit. It's a nuke, you don't want to smoke them to death. And then each one of these, you're gonna put in here. You don't want this process to take a long time. You can take a quick look. Make sure, if you see the queen, if you're seeing eggs, Jason's real good about having high quality nukes, so I don't think you folks will have any problems with that. I've had some people order some online that had problems with the queen being dead or whatever. So you can look at these, but remember, they go in the same order that they are in the box that you get them in. Now, once you have all of them in here, the next thing you need to think about is feeding, because a nuke needs fed. I have top feeders that go right on top of here with sugar water. And your mixture this time of year will be 1 part sugar to 1 part water, okay? And you can have a top feeder, you can have an entrance feeder. There's some that go on top of your inner cover. However you're gonna do that, that's a whole nother topic that we can go over. But just remember, it's 1-to-1 sugar, and make sure don't use brown sugar, sorghum syrup, molasses, nothing. The cheapest white cane sugar you can find, the stuff that's 100% sucrose. That's the best for them. Not the best for us as humans, but it's the best for them. So that's what you make sure you, and at 1 to 1, you don't even really have to heat it up. You can just mix it in a jug and it'll mix up just fine. Anything more than that, you have to start heating it up. But then after you get your nuke in here, you want to leave them alone. Don't go digging in them. Give them about a week, at least 3 or 4 days to you want them to decide that this is their home. If they don't like this box, they're going to fly out. So you want to make sure that and if you in there digging around on them every day, is going to make them decide that this is kind of a hostile place to live and they're going to want to fly off. The queen and the brood, actually everything in there gives off a smell, but mostly the queen and the brood, the open and the closed brood, give off a smell. And that smell has to permeate this box to a certain level. And then the bees will say, oh, this is our home. This is where we're living. We'll start making comb. So at least 3 or 4 days, and I would give them more like a week before you go in and look at them.
Don't you also recommend that the nuke, when you first bring it home, let it sit there where your box is gonna be, so in the shade overnight, so that it doesn't, because I've had boxes where I opened them up, put them in, and they just off, they were gone. So
I've never had that happen, but
yeah, I mean, they were everywhere, gone.
it just depends. I don't think that would hurt a thing to let them if they've been bounced down the road and they're all shook up, it might set them here for a little while, let them calm down. I don't think that'd be a problem.
I was gonna mention, so Jason, our president, that's not here, but for those of you that are new, he was like in bias this year, but he can mark the queen for you. Because if you haven't learned how to identify her the first couple of years that you're doing it, it's been very convenient for us to have a marked queen so that
So you can find her.
how to find her and stuff. He wouldn't let me ask him now.
There's also,
I just wanted to mention if you get it
What?
from him.
there's books out there where it teaches, like, you see like the whole thing of like a picture of bees, and then you have to find where the queen is, and then you
Right.
revert to that.
Where's Waldo for the bee?
Yeah, it's actually really helpful. That's how I learned, and now I'm like super quick at finding her.
And
So
there's a lot of YouTube videos on finding the queen on all that too. A lot of them. When I first started beekeeping, I could not find a queen to save my soul. My wife was beekeeping with me and she would find it right there on the frame and I'm going, where? It's have to point her out. But then over the years, I've gotten much better at it. Much better at it.
Something else, this year being blue, it's one of the hardest colors to see on your queen.
Yeah.
So if you're not using a fluorescent blue or a UV blue, a UV blue is great. You can see the blue, but if you use the UV, you can take a little UV flashlight, it should pop out really bright. Really bright,
Right.
You
Now, the first time you get in this, when you first decide to get in it, 4 days, a week later, you want to get in here and you don't want to spend a lot of time, okay? Take the end frame out. I gotta be careful because this box is actually put together. Take this frame out and look at it. She probably won't be on this frame. She's probably gonna be in the middle where the brood is. But then you've got some room to look and you can look through here. One of the tricks is that the queen, 90%, 95% of the time is gonna be over brood, not over honey, over open comb. You might find her in open comb laying eggs, but most of the time she's gonna be right in the middle, right where she's, well, I shouldn't say right in the middle. She should be right over wherever the eggs are. Because if it's kind of cold and you have this box facing this way and the sun gets really bright in the morning is over here, you might find the 3 frames of brood over here, not in the middle. So that's just something to think about. When you do take the first frame out, if it has brood on it, don't put it outside. Okay? If there's brood on the first frame, put it back and start from the other side. Okay? The reason why you don't want the brood out here is this time of year, it's a little cool. You can chill the brood and kill it. Also, there's brood on this one and you pull it out and you look and you don't see the queen and you put it out here, but she is on there. And then she falls on the ground. Unfortunately, I have experience with that. I have killed my share of queens in my lifetime. So anyway, then you get to the middle and you find, and what you're looking for that first time is eggs. Okay? Because if it's been 4 days, all of the eggs that were in here, when you put it in here, they're all hatched in their brood. So if there's more eggs in here, then that queen is in here and laying. And if she's in here and laying, they have decided this is their home and you're good, okay? After that first inspection. So this has been 4 days to a week, you know that this is what they like. Then keep sugar on them, water on them. You can come look at them every week, make sure they're going. She had her hand up first. Go ahead.
Okay, 2 questions. One, are you saying that we're gonna have a total of 10 frames in the brood box?
Yes, yes. Some people run 9,
Okay.
okay,
Should have 8.
and they center it, huh?
There's 2 different size boxes. You've got 8 frames and
8
you've got
frames
10.
and 10 frames. Do you have 8 frame boxes?
I think 10 fit in there.
Yes.
Okay.
For right now, keep 10 in there.
Oh, okay, so in the beginning, keep 10.
Right, now, Jason runs 9 frames in his. He's a commercial guy, he's been doing it for a lot of years. The standard way is just called a 10 frame box. And especially your first year, you kind of need to do what's tried and proved. After you overwinter bees and you kind of know which end the bees come in and out, then maybe you can start doing some of the other stuff and experimenting. But to begin with,
Do the 10.
do the 10 frame.
And then my next question is, I wanna do the top feeder.
Okay,
So I'm only gonna have the 1 box on the bottom. And
For
then we're
right
gonna
now.
have a box on the top for the feeder, right?
right. Now, some top feeders, you put your inner cover on top of here, and then the feeder goes over the hole in the middle of the cover. Is that what you have?
That's what I have,
Okay, when you do that, then you're gonna take your second box with no frames in it
right?
and put over the top of that, and then put your outer cover on top of that. So it's sealed from the outside world. Also, your entrance reducer, when you're installing a nuke, needs to be on the little one. Easier for them to defend. There's not a lot of bees. There's a lot of space in here. You want to have them not have to defend so much area against yellow jackets and wasps and anything else that's out there. So anyway, some of the feeders are made to put right on top of here. Sometimes you can take your front feeder and put it in here, just have your inner cover and set it in here and then put the empty box over it like we're talking about for her middle feeder. So then only your bees can get to it. It's not out there for everyone. I do not like the front feeders because first of all, you got a weak hive in here. It's a baby hive. It's just starting. If you've got sugar smelling this close out here to the front, yellow jackets and everything else that like to attack baby hives, it attracts them and it's right at the entrance. It's not this far from the entrance. So if you have they're also called a Boardman feeder. If you have a Boardman feeder, put it inside, like I said, put your inner cover on top of this box, put the empty other big box you have on top of here and put the feeder inside of here. Because then only your bees can get to it. The wasp and everything can't get to it. It's just a better setup. It sets you up for, doesn't set you up for failure. Now your question.
That's right. I think I figured.
You figured it out.
I wanted to ask you about, like, you were talking about inspecting to see if you had eggs.
Right.
Which you are like 4 days to
Right.
a week, right? So I'm trying to visualize what do those eggs look like, because a full hatch takes 21 days, right?
Of a worker bee.
Right, and so then, so I know kind of what the more mature eggs look like, but I don't know exactly what I'm looking for at that 4 to 10 days.
It looks
Rice.
like a grain of rice, only it's 1/20th the size. Okay, and most of the time, what you'll have, especially early on like that, is you'll have closed brood in the middle, and then there'll be bigger white brood going to smaller white brood, going to smaller white brood, and then on the very outside of that, you'll have eggs. And that'll be the first. Also, if you want to go on the internet, there's all kinds of pictures of eggs to help you. If you don't have good eyesight, take reading glasses with you. Very, very important as a beekeeper to see eggs.
And that's also why the black
And that's
foundation
that's why
helps.
it's black foundation, so you can see the white on it. Right?
Fingers are not.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're looking for eggs, what you want to do is you want to get the sun over your shoulder. So your sun's over here. And you can get it to shine right in, and you can manipulate this and get that sun to shine all the way in the cell. Because the cells have a 15-degree upwards. So when you hold it like this, you'll have to manipulate it and get it straight, and you can look right in and you can see eggs. And there should be brood in all the stages, which means you should have eggs. You should have open brood, which is pearly white. It should not have any color to it. Should be pearly white. And then the closed brood is where it has the cappings over it, the wax is over it. You should have all three at this stage.
The other thing is if you're running foundationless frames, don't flip the frames upside down or horizontal
And yeah,
because they will fall out.
Yes.
Ask me how I know.
yeah,
So good habit is just pick them up regularly
pick them up like this and
and
just hold them
just
this way.
actually just turn
The
around.
same way if you have a top bar hive, it's the same concept. With a top bar hive, you don't do that either.
Yeah.
You still wanna be careful when you twist stuff.
Well, they're generally real heavy, so you can't just flip them like that because they're generally heavy, so.
Muscles.
Something for me is, I can't find. Call them runners.
You what?
Call them runners.
Yeah,
Sometimes they run. But if I take two frames off, one side, without glue, set them out, and then you got 8 frames. You put those 8 frames in a pair. We got 4 pairs. You start, you give them a couple minutes, and they start from one side. Take that first frame out, and just scan down it, and look at the other frames, still in the box. Please like dark, a little bit dark.
Right.
High. And 9 times out of 10, you'll find, if you don't find them in the first pair, go through to the second pair,
right,
and third and fourth pair. If you don't find them, close it up.
right. What he's saying is they do not like the light. So after you take a couple frames out, she's not gonna probably be right here because the light's shining in there, okay? So what I like to do is pull this frame out and look at that. Look in there. Look for the fastest moving thing first, because if she's a runner, she's gonna be taken off. And that'll catch your eye. If she's on this frame, she's not going anywhere. I can look at this frame after I look down there. So anyway, I pull this one out, I look there, and then I come hold it over the hive and look for the queen here. And then I'll do the same thing on the next one. When I pull it out, I'll look there. She might be back on this one, because this was as dark as this one. But like I said, if you pull this out and go like that, if she's on here, she's not going anywhere. And you can look there for the queen, see the queen. That's another trick. If she's a runner, she'll be doing a straight line. And as a new beekeeper, she'll be very, very hard to find. Because I went all the way to the end of the box and she's on the wood out here because she's running and she just doesn't like one of the scene. Or she'll get down in here on the box below because she's hiding down in the corner. Or bottom board under here, she'll get in the corner and hide.
Don't you just say if you're seeing eggs
Mm.
there and a
Right.
good.
It is not important to see eggs every time, or to see the queen every time. It's important to see eggs. If you have an egg, the queen's been there in at least the last, how many days?
3.
3 days, that's right. I like to see the queen. It's just, I've always loved queens. Queens have kind of been my thing. But if you don't see her, it's not a big deal. It's not a really big deal. As far as pollen goes, they should be building up pollen. And that's not gonna go back together. So we're just gonna leave it. I done twisted it too hard. Now the frames are falling down in and I can't get it smashed back together.
Watch the front of the frame, you can see them flying in.
Yeah, yeah. Mine were bringing in a bright yellow pollen,
That's what we got.
which is probably dandelion. I don't see any dandelions where I'm at. I caught a swarm and that's at my house because I didn't go back up to my apiary. But they were bringing in that bright yellow pollen and I'm looking around, I don't see any dandelions, but they're bringing it in, you know? You see them come in fat and heavy because they got nectar and you're looking around thinking, I don't see any nectar. But there's something within 3 miles that they're finding nectar. And this time of year, yeah, this time of year, they are industrious. They will find whatever is out there. They will look long.
White, yellow, and
Yeah,
orange, all
yeah, there's all kinds of, yeah, if you look online, there's all kinds of color charts that show you that. White is, I don't know if you could, do we have mistletoe in this area? Okay, where I was before we had mistletoe and that was the white, you can tell what was the white. Yeah,
Well, and I think, Russian olive is white.
Hey, I know, I can't ever remember because I have the chart and it's like. I'm not gonna try to memorize the chart. I'm gonna look at it when I see it. but After a couple of weeks and you go in and you look at your pollen, you'll probably have brood in the middle. And then on the corners, you'll have honey, a little bit of honey, and then there'll be a ring like this around the brood with some pollen in it, okay? It should look like a rainbow. You should have white, brown, green, light green, olive green, bright yellow. It should be a bunch of different, and that's good because every pollen has its own protein profile. So the more that they're eating different pollens, the more nutritious it is for them. Just like us, if we ate nothing but Big Macs all day, we wouldn't be very hungry. We wouldn't be very healthy. It's the same with them. It doesn't matter what food it is, you pick it, you eat only that, it's going to catch up with your health sooner or later. So you want to see different colors of pollen. Okay. What else?
Is anybody getting packages? Set of nukes?
You're getting a package?
No, I signed up. I signed it with the gentleman at it, but I have.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I wish I had a package box here, but I don't.
Oh.
She wants to know.
Okay, yeah. Not many people are doing packages anymore.
Well, we just thought if somebody was installing a package, we could go over.
Anybody got packages coming? You do, okay. That's generally, if you're a more experienced beekeeper, you can get a package a little cheaper. You install them a little different. They come in a box. It's just a box. What I like to do is take the frames out of this one and just open the box, take the queen out, hang her on one of these frames right here, and then just leave the box in here, put the second box on top and just leave it. They'll go out and find that queen. That's how I like to do it. There are people that bang them on the ground and spray them with sugar water and dump them in there and, and I've done that and they did fine. But I think the gentler you are on a package, the better off you are. Because for one thing, the queen that you get with a package is not the mom to those bees. They're commercial guys are just dumping bees in there and then they put a bought queen. So they don't know that queen. They still have to get used to that queen. So there's nothing really keeping them in this box because if it was their queen in like you could buy a nuke, well, then they want to stay in here because their queen's in here. They can smell their queen. But not necessarily so with a package. When I started out here, I had to do packages because I had medium boxes. I run 3 mediums instead of 2 largest, and nobody sells medium nukes. So I had to start off with packages. I had good luck with them. The guy that you're getting yours from out of Utah, is it Apis Hive Company? Chad?
That sounds familiar.
Chad, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I got him. He used to sell them here in Grand Junction too. And he's a good guy. I had real good luck with his packages. You'll be happy with it. He stands by his product. A couple of years ago, he had a queen breeder give him a bunch of virgin queens for mated queens. And he went around and he made it right with everybody. He got them all either new queens or replaced their new. Or replaced their package. He's a real honest man. Okay.
What is a package?
A package is a box, a ventilated box with 3 pounds of bees and a commercial queen in it. There's no brood, there's no frames, there's no nothing. It's just a box.
Sugar water.
Yeah, and it's got a can of sugar water in there to feed them. And so one of the things about a nuke and why a nuke is so much better, especially if you're just starting out, is like I said, that queen is the mother to all these bees and they want to stay here because their queen is here. Also, you have brood continually hatching out here because there's 3 frames of brood and some of it is capped brood and ready to emerge. It's at the end of its 21 days. When you put a package in here, first of all, they got to accept that queen and they've got to get her out of the cage. Then she has to lay an egg and then it takes 21 days. So for about 24 days, the population is going down because there's no new babies being hatched. And so a few of them are dying off. So the population goes down and down and down. And before they start coming up again. So it's better, especially when you start off, to get a nuke.
One of the other things, when you get a package, if you don't have drawn frames, if you have not had bees already draw the wax out, draw the comb, they've got to start drawing comb before the queen can start laying.
If all your frames look like that,
Behind.
okay.
So similar deal with the swarm, it's gonna take them 21 days to start. Adding.
Not necessarily. The question is it the same with the swarm? No, because that queen in that swarm is their queen, right?
But I mean, the population is gonna decline.
Yes, the population is going to decline for 21 days. That part of it, yes, because she has to get in this hive and start laying eggs. And it usually takes a swarm a day or two before the queen starts laying. And then, yeah. But if you get a swarm, swarms really like to make comb, because out in the wild, they know they have to fly in a tree and they have to make that comb before she can start laying. So they really want to make wax. They go to town making wax fast. The swarm does. Okay, that's going over feeding. It's going over. That's what we're gonna go. I think that's it. Let's just do some question and answer. Question and answer.
Is there a date, like a timeline of if they don't swarm by a certain time, it's gonna clear?
His question basically is when does the swarm season end? If I'm interpreting it right. You can have swarms all the way up to October. Most of the swarms will be done by July 1st. By July 1st, most of the swarms will be done. I've had suicide swarms. They call them suicide swarms. It'll be middle of October and they'll fly out. It's like, you think you're really going to get established for the winter at, in the middle of October? It's not happening.
I know, I'm just asking for advice. We have two boxes go full of brood, and I need a new bottom board. So I'm gonna take the top brood box, make it now the new bottom brood. Take the bottom one, make it the top. Do you have suggestions on that, or what?
What he's talking about, yeah, he's wanting to know about switching your boxes,
Yeah.
okay? Bees all winter will move up because there's honey up here. And as the honey down below gets depleted, they'll move up and eat the honey and they'll eat their way up. So what he's saying is, should he take his top box now, because all the bees are in it, and put it on the bottom and put this empty one on the top? That's an opinion thing. Okay, I just like to let mine go and they'll go back down. They should go back down. 95% of the time, they will move back down. If they don't, and it starts getting on to the middle of May, 1st of June, and they haven't inverted and they're still wanting to stay up here, I'll switch them. But some people, it's right in their things they do every single springtime. They swap them, some beekeepers. So like I said, it's one of those nuanced things. It just depends on what you believe. You're not going to hurt them if you do that. So if you decide to, you're not doing anything wrong. Abscond versus swarm.
You open the lid and they're gone.
Yeah. You have this hive here and it's all set up. And you got bees in it. And one day you go open it and there's no bees in here. You open it up and there's some frozen bees in here and they died in here. There is absolutely no bees. That is called an absconsion. This was their house and they didn't like it. They didn't like it to the point they decided to move out. And they just flew out the front and went and found another home. That generally happens under really high mite loads. They like to do that. If you have a weaker colony and the wax moths get started and it starts stinking, not in this area, but small hive beetles can take over and it'll just be too many and the bees can't control them. So they'll just leave. The mated queen and everything leaves and all the adult bees, they all leave. Whereas a swarm, 60% of the bees leave and they leave 40% in here with a new queen. They generally, the old queen, the old mated queen that grew this colony last year will leave with about 60% of the bees and they'll go make another colony. That's a swarm. You can't have a secondary and a tertiary swarm where this hive swarms and the mated queen leaves. But there's a lot of queen cells in here. And so the next one that comes out, for some reason, the bees decide they need to swarm again. So then they take that virgin queen, takes half of what's left and leaves. So now you got a quarter of your bees in here. And I've had them even do it another time so that there was really nothing left in the box. They just swarmed themselves out of existence. And that's genetics that you don't want. So that's, you know, if that happens, it's not that big of a deal. One of the things I like to do, if I know this hive swarm, I'll get in here and I'll find the virgin queen. And if I don't find, if I find the virgin queen and there's still other queen cells in here, I'll scrape them out. Because that keeps that next queen from coming out, and then that queen decides she needs to leave too, or those two fighting it out. Most of the time, the virgin queen that was in here will go around and kill all the other ones, most of the time. But we're dealing with nature here, and we all know that they do some funny things sometimes. And like I said, I've actually had the original swarm and 2 virgin queens swarm out of the same hive before. And I had about that many bees left.
Not tonight, but I was just gonna ask, could we pretty soon have a little lesson on looking at what is a drone cell, a queen cell? Like, I'm looking at these attached to the bottom of frames and I'm not sure which is which.
Right.
I'm really cautious about whether I should get rid of them or not. And it's
Okay.
like I need more than I could just, I mean, I could go all day long on the internet, but.
One of the books that I like to recommend to begin with is called First Lessons in Beekeeping. And it's got a, make sure you get the color guide, and it's got a lot, the whole center of it is pictures. So if you're looking at something and saying, is that a queen cell? You can open it up and it's got pictures of, color pictures of a queen cell, and you can say, yeah, that's a queen cell, or no, that's just a drone cell. You know, if you're saying, what's a drone cell? Well, look it up. You know, they have pictures in there. Is this brood healthy? Look it up, it's got pictures of brood. You can say, yeah, this looks like what I'm looking on the frame. That's healthy brood. That's why I like that one particular book.
That's what that BMD is, basically the electronic version of that book.
Okay.
With additional stuff.
With additional stuff, yeah. Yeah. But in general, the easy way to tell a queen cell is it's vertical. Males and worker bees are horizontal. Female queen cells are vertical. It doesn't matter where they are. They can be up here. They can be down here. It doesn't matter if they're vertical. And sometimes an emergency queen cell starts out in a cell that is horizontal, but then it comes out and it bends down vertical on the end. And that's not a good queen. You kind of want to stay away from that. But if it's vertical, it's a queen cell. If it's flat and it's horizontal this way, it's either a drone cell or a worker cell. And it's really easy to tell the difference. Worker bee drone is flat. When you look across the top of it, it's flat. When you look at drone comb, they look like little bullets all stacked together. The cap is dome. So it looks like a 22 bullet coming. And that's a drone. Usually your drone cells are going to be more along the bottom because they pupate at a different temperature, at a lower temperature than a worker bee.
So I had 2 hives this spring that had a little bit of mold on some of the frames. I assumed that it was a ventilation issue. Question is, and online it looks like the bees will take care of that mold. Want to get your thoughts on that?
Yes, bees will take care of, especially if it's a strong colony, they'll take care of it. It'll be gone before you know it. If it's a really weak colony and I have some mold, a lot of mold in there, I'll take those frames out and put clean ones in there just because they're struggling to live. I don't want to have them use all that energy to clean all that up. I'll even sometimes switch out frames with a really nice big strong hive so that the strong hive can clean them off. And it can be ventilation problems. It can just be where you are. It can be if you have too much shade. We don't have a lot of problems with mold here. One of the things that people mistake as mold a lot is, let's say that this is capped over honey and it's been in there a long time. It's been in there since July. You didn't harvest it or anything. This wax on here will do what they call bloom, and it'll get kind of like white and powdery. It almost looks like mold. It can have a kind of a funny tint to it. But all it is the lighter esters of the beeswax is coming to the top. And it looks like mold, but it's not. It looks like a really light sheen of mold. It's just called bloom. If you make candles, sometimes you'll find it on candles that have been made like a year.
Yeah, this manifests black on top of the frames.
Yeah.
So black.
Yeah, they'll clean that out.
I said might give it to you this year. I had to change my thing in her cover. That telescopically too, some of the free flat.
So Tracy, there's this website that I just looked at. It was called Bee Maniacs, and it's cells, cells, and cells. And it shows really good pictures of capped honey and uncapped honey, worker cells and drone cells, queen cups, supersedure cell, and all of those. So I'm putting it on the
On the minute.
minutes.
Okay.
So it's called Bee Maniacs, and the website is Bee Maniacs, and then it's cells, cells, cells. So I'll put a link in to
So you
our.
can just click it. That worked.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Now, I told you that queen cells are up and down. You might have what are called queen cups along the bottom. And they're a vertical cell, but they're just barely begun. In other words, there's a rounded top and it looks like they could make one, but it's only maybe 1/8 of an inch long. It's not, there's nothing in it. It's just sitting there in this wax. Those are called queen cups. That is, doesn't mean anything. It means your bees are getting prepared. If their queen dies, that much work is already done, so they can put an egg in it and go to town and make a queen faster. You can have them, some hives don't have any, some have 10 throughout the whole hive. Some people like to scrape them out, not necessary, they're just gonna build them back. They're not of concern until they have an egg or a larvae in them. If they have an egg or a larvae in them, then it's a queen cell. That's when it changes names from a cup to a cell.
If you have a couple of hives, about how much time do you think it takes each week or each month?
That's very, very seasonally dependent. Because like I said, from now until the honey flow, I'm in the hive every week. And probably 30 minutes a hive, something like that. But then once the honey flow comes, I might be able to do my whole yard of 25 in an hour, you know? You pop the top, there's bees all over and they're putting up honey and you just lay them back down. So you spent 30 seconds on that one, you know? And then in the winter, of course, after November 15th, then there's nothing to do until the end of March. So, you know, it's very seasonally dependent. Surprised I got that out.
I would
huh?
say what mattered more is being consistent, right? So the first year, we weren't that consistent about how often we were getting in. That was the lesson to learn. Is that during the season when you should be in.
Right.
Having a good routine and not just when it worked on the weekend.
Right, right. Well, one of the things that when you're new is you got to get used to handling frames. Knowing what to do and what not to do. That only happens by getting in here and looking at them and handling frames. So that's why let's begin with, especially if you get a nuke right to begin with, every week you should be in them every week looking at them. I'll give you a little bit of, plus it's the muscle memory. Like I said, how fast do you flip them? And you pull this one out and you're not thinking and you go like this real quick and the bees fly all up in the air and they get on your bail and you say, oh, I need to not do that. It's just general stuff like that. You get general and then you manipulate them and you drop it. And they all go up in the air. And you say, gee, I need to not do that.
The other thing is, they say work slowly, you can injure, because the slower you work, the more you'll see, and you'll really startle your bees where they want to get.
Yes. I like to call it bee speed.
Yeah.
And I had a guy that I was teaching one time who worked at a sub shop and he was at a make table. And I could not get him to slow down. He's like, and they're all up in his face and, no, it's, there's a certain speed you'll learn, but doesn't bother them whatsoever, Oh, I talk to them all the time. Yeah. I tell my wife I'm going to see all my girlfriends. I did. I got over 1 million. Yeah. There's an old custom called telling it to the bees from England, where people would go out and tell their bees the significant things that happen in their family, deaths, marriages, stuff like that. And it's just a part of, you know, if you keep bees because you like bees, because you kind of want to learn things about them and just have fun with them. And so part of that is talking to them. First thing I go in my apiary, I got 25 hives and I walk around without my veil on and talk to all of them. Oh, you're busy ladies today. Because you can also tell if you got means, and if they start funking, let me go put my veil on. I got a mean one over here, you know.
I had one swarm, same day as the first, captured that, you know, so I got my do-it-yourself split. I had my other really strong hives, you know, they've been bearding up already, even though I've got a super. And I decided I better split that one, so I was out there working with all the hives at some point. And my bees are now pretty agitated. And like ordinarily I'll walk 5 feet in front and never have anything happen. Last couple of days, I'm 20-30 feet out and I've got yard bees banging on me and like I got stung around the head and face, I think 5 or 6 times yesterday. How long can I expect them to remain agitated and or mean, or is this?
It's probably the hives you made the splits from that are getting agitated. And when you make a split and you take 5 frames out of the middle, this colony is too small to worry about people 20 feet from their hive. They're worried about surviving. So they're not going to bother you. But the hive that went queenless, they're not very happy. Queenless hives can be very ugly. So once they get queen right and all those, like I was talking about, those smells and pheromones get going in here, they'll calm. If they don't calm down, I don't like hot hives. If I get ones that stay hot, nope. That queen's
productive hive.
Yeah, hot hives usually are more productive than any other hives. It just goes with the territory.
I've got one last weekend. And I still got bees that'll follow me and that's back to the house. They ain't outside too.
Last year, this year's like, so we split ours and last year they were so pretty, and now this spring we're like, oh,
They're nice and calm. And in general, this time of year, they're gonna be very calm. And then they'll be calm up into the honey flow. When the honey's flowing too, they're worried about getting all the honey they can. They're not worried about you. First week in September, when the honey stops flowing, they get ugly. Let me get her back.
I was wondering does anybody know when Jason's nukes are going to be delivered?
I don't, but
So, I started calling Jason already, making some nukes. And so he has some ready, but he'll be contacting based off his list. I don't know the order of his list. So we're working on, they're on the way. I mean, so, expecting those that still need queen, well, Jason, myself, we sell the nukes. I know he has queens. I don't know his issue with queens. So you just have to wait till he's back in town. And talk to him about availability.
Do you know if he's still?
Yeah, he should be in, yeah, well, this weekend's gonna be hard. He's getting in late Thursday night. And then he's got an off road on Friday. He's got a prep for Saturday for the festival. Don't even call him this weekend. Just, you guys got too much on his plate. I mean, give him a break till at least Monday.
I probably did
Reach out to him.
Saturday.
Yeah. You can talk to him at the festival if he's still lost. But yeah, anyways, the nukes are starting to get worried.
Do you know if he's planning for us to be able to do a pickup at the church like we haven't?
Again, he's gonna lay all out. My assumption is yes, it's back at the church. That's usually the most convenient for him.
The earliest I've ever seen nukes in this area has been the second week of April, so we're not even there yet.
How many that we? Otherwise they come.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things that we don't recommend, especially the new guys, new people, I should say. I boosted my hives this year. And with the formula, I filled 2 boxes packed full of brood both sides, capped everything. So my bees have really grown unbelievably. And that's why I'm having to do early splits, which is really risky this time of year because of both nights. And also the aggression. So I've already got 2 full medium boxes of honey on them, plus I just put a bee super on one of my hives after breaking it down.
Because of some of the colder nights, have you doing the sleeves or? Because of some of the colder nights that we've had this.
Yeah, because we had that long warm spell. Yeah, and I mean, I put the boosted honey sugar or 1-to-1 plus honey patty, pollen patties or something. So they grew, I mean, really steady.
Are you insulating it all? Are you insulating it all?
I don't insulate at all. I tried it one year, didn't make a difference. The weather here just isn't that cold where the bees can. I mean, I had a 5-frame nuke I brought all the way through the winter and with a corny queen, and someday I'll find in a 5-frame nuke, she's solid black, so trying to find her because it's hard is really tough, but she's still growing and she's building, getting ready to put her back into a den frame.
Good.
So yeah, there's a lot of different things out there.
Tyler?
I got 2 things. So right now, also, for those that overwinter, remember what the bees been eating all winter, their honey. So there's a major gut issue, right? So if you are the person that likes that super DMF, now's the time to put that on, because that's gonna help clean that gut. If you start seeing the stains on the hives or your cars or side your house or whatever it is, so that's normal because it's a cleansing thing. It's excessive. You gotta worry about that. It's gonna see it. So the DFM is gonna help clear that out. And this is just a good way to cleanse all that honey that they've been consuming all winter long and get them ready to get them. The other thing is for those that are worried about swarming and maybe you're trying to sign it with the other queens and Jason or, there's a bunch of what ifs, you can gut super that, give you another week time if necessary. And all you need to do is if you have your 2 brood boxes, is you're just gonna lift up that upper brood box and insert a 3rd brood box in the middle. So it's basically empty. So those bees are confused on between now box 3 and box 1, lower and upper. And what happens is it kind of calms them down a little bit. That's a good way to maybe start drawing some foam if you need to. But then also just have old foam, start polishing that out for you. And it's going to slow them down, gives them the room, and then I'll buy you some time if you've been waiting for the split for a new thing or whatever. I don't know each person's situation. That's a great method that gives you time if you don't have time to look behind.
So you put 10 frames in so that they're empty.
Yes, you're gonna put another box in frame in there.
Got it.
Okay, and again, you can put old comb in there. Don't start polishing that out and get it ready so your newts can drop them in or wherever you want. Okay? Or if you have if all you have is foundation, it's better than nothing. And they can start working on drawing that out. You gotta remember, part of your 1-to-1 right now, a couple different things. We need to generate the royal jelly to start feeding those eggs, okay? When the nectar's not there, that's what the substitute of the artificial nectar, the 1-to-1 is how doing that, along with the pollen from it. The other thing is that triggers the wax glands, And they're gonna consume all that, and that's what helps really draw out those new foundation. That's why now, at any time of the year is the best time to draw out your frames, okay? So no matter what you're trying to do, if you can afford to put even checkerboard a couple, now is that time to do that, because they're gonna draw that out real fast, right? Now, again, if you're new, you've got the new nukes, don't listen to what I'm telling you, because you don't wanna do that, you're gonna mess things up. I'm talking to folks that have over winter, you're now in season 2 or beyond, and what do you do with your hives that survive? Okay, the other thing I'm seeing is, obviously, my hives came back to Jason and Jason's as well, they're plugged out. They're pretty full. And from a lot of the emails and text messages that I'm getting from club members from here and from the veterans group, we had a pretty mild winter for the most part, at least here in the Florida Valley. So your guys are plugged out early as well. Some of this aggression that you're seeing, and if they have nothing going on up here, they're bored. They don't really want to go down below. Tracy mentioned that, but that is a good time to consider rotating because it forces them to go up. But if you do that, take one frame of brood from that bottom and bring it back up to the top. That way they start covering that, and then they know they need to work with bottoms. But sometimes it's just they don't realize they have that whole bottom to be working. And all of right now it's still cool evenings, warm days, so they want to stay at the top. We need to get them working both bottoms.
Okay, Super DFM is a product you can buy from online. There's some imitations out there, Ultra DFM. Trying to remember what Man Lake calls theirs. Jason, the president, really likes Super DFM, and make sure you get Super DFM. Last year I got the wrong one because they even make the package look the same and the colors and everything to try to confuse you. The one that's the best is the Super DFM.
Yeah, so on the package, we talked about that. You're just gonna, I think it's 1 tablespoon.
1 tablespoon.
And you're just gonna lay that right on your top. Okay, well, you take off.
There's,
if you have 2 boxes, put it on the lower box. Actually, wherever they're feeding, so if they're just on the top, do the top one. Typically gonna do that on the box. And they will go down and feed off that super. That's like candy.
Jason likes to just put it like right here, just in one corner. He dumps 1 tablespoon. I like to spread it out over all the staples, is what I like to do. What you don't want to do is put it in the middle where the brood is. You don't want to sprinkle it over the middle where the brood is, because if some of that powder goes down in there and lands in a cell, the bees will look at that and say that's contaminated, and they'll pull that one out. So you can actually kill the brood.
Frame 2.
Yeah, that would work. This way?
Yeah, and right down the length of the tree.
Yep.
And
Here.
then that way they walk on. That's your better chance about pulling it up. It's your better chance that that's gonna be a resource frame of food.
Right. And you understand what he's saying? That if you have 2 brood boxes and the bees are still up here in this top box, then you want to put the Super DFM up here. If they're in both boxes or in the bottom box, then you want to put it on the bottom box.
You still can do it on the bottom, they'll go to it.
Right.
But they're gonna find it because how sweet it is.
Yeah, well, they're cleaning and they want to get all, it's like looks kind of like dirt. And it's sweet, so they want to eat
Comment
it.
about some of the moldy frame, it's Super DFM could help clean some of that out.
And the one thing also, your Super DFM, I used it all last year, and you apply it per the instructions, 100 doses is like $100 and all. But it keeps your bees so healthy. I actually had 2 nukes that I got from Jason that built up so fast that I was able to send them to California with pollination.
Right.
And all.
It's
So
all
they-
about gut health. It
It's
makes
gut
us
health,
gut.
bees healthy, they will work, and they, and I mean, I got honey supers off them and everything. So that Super DFM, yeah, I'm truly great.
And they make a smaller bag that's got 10 doses.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to do it once and then 10 days later do a second dose? 7
Once
days?
every 10 or 14 days.
10 or
Once every
14
2
days.
I did it all my hives.
Right.
Like April and May, I waited. Throughout the summer, if I had a colony that was just being struggling, I went ahead and treated that.
Or just not thriving, just not.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's just, that's needed. Okay. And then right as I come out after my harvest, so late fall, I went ahead and did them all again, 2 months back to back, once a month. That's all I did. And I tell you, my
Yeah.
bees did real well.
I think the package is every 2 weeks now that you guys are talking. Like 2 weeks.
Today, yesterday, said do it in the spring, then do it during a dearth, and then in the fall.
Well, yeah,
And that's, we did it 3 times last year, it was fine too.
right, right.
Anyways, if you guys don't know, we do have all of our recordings from our previous meetings available. Is it on our YouTube or on our? It's on our
Yep.
YouTube. So if you want, we have a whole, like, we had a meeting where we covered all of this before too. And so if you'd like, that's out on our YouTube.
I was running out of room on Zoom and on our website, so that's why I went to YouTube. And the big one on YouTube is especially if you're new, Jason did a beekeeping 101 last year. It's 4 hours of information. So it went over a lot of stuff. And then even Tyler back there, we went out in the yard and he did some hands-on demonstration out the back of the church still. It's there. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of good information. So.
That's great.
Grace and I were able to use that last year, and I would really recommend.
Okay, any other questions?
If anyone else ordered frames, that have not got them, come down and see me, there's a couple people in here. I don't know if you do.
And those of you that I said I would bring oxalic strips, I'm sorry. I was telling somebody I lost them. I have 30 sets of strips and I just could not find them. I think I left them up in my bee yard. So I'll have them at the Delta beekeeping meeting if people want, for those of you that go to the Delta beekeeping meeting. And other than that, that's our, yeah.
So just a reminder, this is a very busy month. So we've got Honeybee Festival this Saturday. Tracy, for those who are going, Tracy's road show is the following Saturday, and the 26th, the third Saturday. That is going to be the honey dipping or the box dipping. It's the 26th. That's the box dipping and the swap meet. So if you got some old stuff that you're not using anymore, bring it, set it up. And trade off with somebody else. So other than that, April is very, very busy.
Yeah, if you want to volunteer at the booth at the bee festival, don't forget to come up here and talk with Sheila. And other than that, if you have any other questions, you can come up here and ask them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you.